Welcome everybody to ECTV Live. This is Tom Munley with my co-host, a wonderful man and good friend of mine, David DeCosmo. Hello, David.
Tom, it's nice to see you again, and good to be back with ECTV Live with a program that's going to focus today on an activity this coming weekend that is kind of impressive for a whole lot of different reasons. Perhaps you can introduce our guest and we'll get started.
Yes, David. We have Bob Savakinus, who's a great man. He works hard in the community, and he's representing Arts on Fire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Tell us something about Arts on Fire. What's this all about?
Well, Arts on Fire is an industrial arts fair that we're going to be holding down at the Scranton Iron Furnaces this coming Saturday, June 19th. We'll be starting at 9 in the morning and going right on through the whole day. It's free, open to the public. We have a bunch of artists coming in from outside the area. We're going to have an iron pour in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. And we just hope to bring the community out and be able to participate in something that hasn't been done in many, many years.
Bob, when people think about art, people like me, I think about the artist at the easel with the paintbrush and the sculpture as well. Industrial arts, that term throws me just a little bit. It almost seems like there should be arts and there should be industry. So industrial arts combines them. How does that work?
Well, we had a wonderful facility, a site down in the Scranton Iron Furnaces back in the 1800s up until the early 1900s, and that's where the industry was. And we fast forward to where we are currently now, so we need to utilize that site, and why not bring some arts together? So we're going to combine industry and arts and do an industrial arts fair.
What, do you consider the work that was done at the iron furnaces art in any way, shape, or form?
I would think it was art. What was being accomplished at that time, they were building Scranton, Lackawanna County.
And let's go back to the beginnings of that. The iron furnaces, and Judge, may I have that particular painting? Let's take a look. I think a lot of people that come to town, Bob, may see this structure. I know that when you're on the ride off of the excursion by the Trolley Museum, and I believe Steamtown as well,
that's correct,
that you pass this on the this would be the eastern, southeastern section of the city, and this is indeed the Scranton Iron Furnaces. It looks like a great big stone-type structure. There's a lot of arches in it, and as the name implies, these were actually furnaces where they burned coal?
Yes, they burned coal, and they originally started off making nails, but because of the iron ore content wasn't so good, so they ended up then switching over to T-rail, which was a very smart move on their part, T-rail being what was used to build the railroads in our area.
So you're talking about the rails that the trains actually
the T-rails
that
yes,
traveled on.
That they traveled on.
And they were produced here in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
And right now, what are they doing at the iron furnaces now?
Right now, the furnaces just sit as part of, in 1991, they were added to the National Historic Register list. And for us, they're just a treasure for our area. Just a treasure,
and it's just something for people to go and see on a regular basis if they want to go.
Yes, it's administered by the Anthracite Heritage Museum.
You know what, David? This is a great idea to have Arts on Fire. I mean, for people, I lived here all my life. I've never been to the Scranton Iron Furnaces. I mean, this is a great tour, and people will be coming from all over, won't they?
We're hoping that we could get a lot of people outside the area. We have a couple of different artists, and the artists are from outside the area. The Banana Factory, which is a famous arts place down in the Bethlehem, Allentown area, outside of Pittsburgh, outside of Philadelphia, we have artists coming in. So we're getting some national attention as far as bringing in different artists to showcase.
It's interesting because, as the judge mentioned, this is a place that we see. There's usually not a lot of activity around it. And yet, I guess if those walls could talk, they'd be talking about the formation of this very city?
Yes. It was built. The iron furnaces, again, built the rail industry in our area. They were a major employer in our area back in the late 1800s. And obviously, if this, it was recognized on the National Historic Register list, and it's currently administered by the state of Pennsylvania as a historic site.
You mentioned T-rail, and I see another exhibit on our table here. That would be a sample of the kind of rail that was produced at the iron furnaces?
That's correct.
Obviously, an extreme long length, so you'd use it,
of course,
for a rail. Behind it sits another item that is very generic to northeastern Pennsylvania. That's a piece of coal.
A piece of anthracite hard coal, as they would call it.
And here again, the area was built on coal, and as you say, steel as well. Did we burn anthracite coal to make those rails?
Yes, we did,
Okay.
because we had such a plentiful supply in our area.
Right.
You know what? You know what enters my mind when I think of coal. My grandfather worked in the mines. I mean, we're even today in our year 2010, people still talk about this as a coal mining region, even though we don't mine much coal here anymore. But iron was just as big as coal, wasn't it, at one time?
And that's one of the reasons that the furnaces were initially started in this area. But again, the iron ore content wasn't as strong and hardy and sturdy that they initially wanted for the nails, so they switched then to the T-rails, which fortunately at that time the New York and Erie Railroad had a contract that they had to build X amount of mileage trackage, and it just happened to be that the timing was perfect for the furnaces to build this, to manufacture this T-rail that they could use to sell then to the New York Erie Railroad.
Bob, was it the Scranton family that actually had those iron furnaces, hence the Scranton name?
Yes, that's where the name came from. I believe it was the Platt family that came to the area and found the area in what was called Slocum Hollow, and then it was a son-in-law of the son-in-law of the Scrantons that then ended up purchasing it and working through it with the Platt family as well.
Right, and the Scranton family, from what I understand, kept this iron rail this going for many, many years.
Yes, to the early 1900s.
To the early 1900s. And I think, actually, the Scranton family, David, when they were doing this, they lived up on the grounds owned by the University of Scranton now. They call it the estate up there. That's where the Scrantons lived.
Yes.
When they were running this the iron area, all the iron, I don't know if everybody thinks the Scrantons had to do with coal. It was iron, not coal.
It was the iron, right?
Yeah, and that estate, by the way, is still there at the
Right.
university, and the building is used for various university functions. And I'm glad to see that, at least for Saturday, that the iron furnaces are going to be used again. But not only as a gathering spot. You're actually going to, recreate the...
We're going to recreate an iron pour. First, I want to thank our Lackawanna County Commissioners because they helped provide seed money to get this program started, and the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority as well. And because of that, we're going to have an iron pour, which was an Arts Engaged grant with Keystone College. So at 1 o'clock, they will have a mini blast furnace, and they will be firing it up to make some iron ore ingots.
Now that's, you say a mini furnace, nonetheless, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't pretend to know about this kind of manufacturing, but you've got to have extremely intense heat to be able to do this.
Yes. I don't know the specific degrees on things like that, but again, we're going to be doing it at 1 o'clock, and it hasn't been done, from what I understand, since the early 1990s.
Why don't you go on, Bob, finish.
So it's about 20 years since we've actually done an event down at the furnaces like this.
I think for everybody who's watching this now, they're saying, I'd like to go, I'd like to see this. So tell us what the schedule is and give us the exact address of where the furnaces are.
Okay, well, we have the Scranton Iron Furnaces. If you're coming right off the Central Scranton Expressway, you'll see an exit that points to the iron furnaces, and you could just follow it down. We will have police will be there as well to direct traffic for parking and everything. Scranton University has allowed us to use one of their lots for people to park as well. The event opens at 9 o'clock in the morning, and again, it's free and open to the public. At 11 o'clock, we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony with our county commissioners and our mayor and a couple other dignitaries. And the event will then go on throughout the course of the day until 5 o'clock, 1 o'clock again being the iron pour. And then from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we'll have a happy hour cocktail party, which the public is invited to come to that as well, with a minimal charge.
That's Saturday, June 19th.
Saturday, June 19th, this coming Saturday.
We're going to get into a little bit more as to what you will see if you are able to go to this event on Saturday. Let me point out, first of all, that if for any reason you can't make it, that ECTV will be doing a taping at the event, and you'll be able to see that program once we have that ready to roll on ECTV, and you can check your computer, for those who are computer savvy, at electricitytv.org. You'll find a schedule, and once this program from the Iron Furnaces is ready to be put on the air, you'll be able to catch it there. I want to touch, before we get into some of the other things that you're going to see there, Bob, this is very big to you. I know it's very important to you. I know that you are interested in local history. I know you've done a extremely well-accepted documentary on the old Rocky Glen Park, which, by the way, the Laurel line went there and probably ran on rails that may have been produced at the iron furnaces, for all I know.
Possible.
But I don't know that history is as important to a lot of people who may be watching as perhaps it ought to be. Why is it so important? Why is it so important to make sure that the iron furnaces are preserved, that we have a demonstration there as to how they operated, that we bring people in to gather and utilize things like this? I know it's important to you, but why should it be important to everybody?
It brings the community together. When I started, as you mentioned, the Rocky Glen documentary, to me it was a park that was around for over 100 years, and people had such good stories and good memories about Rocky Glen Park. Unfortunately, the facility is no longer there. It doesn't exist anymore. So the next thing that I looked into the idea of doing was a way to bring the public's attention to the iron furnaces. And we got a whole bunch of groups together: the Lackawanna Historical Society, Steamtown, Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority, United Neighborhood Center, the Elm Street Project. We got about 10 different organizations together that we've been meeting the last couple of months on a weekly basis to try and plan this event. So we had a lot of community organizations working together to benefit the community itself, to bring everybody out there for a chance to showcase the furnaces, because we would hate to lose them. We want the public to know that they're there, and we want the public to be able to come down to it. It's a state site, and we encourage people to come down and see the furnaces, and I think this is a way to try and showcase it.
Are people beginning to catch up with their own local history?
I think they are. I'm going to go back to, again, the Rocky Glen story for a few moments, but we looked at the idea that the people that went to Rocky Glen were your miners, your laborers, your iron people. So the people that worked at the furnaces went to Rocky Glen. It's part of our culture, our heritage, for people to get together. And Rocky Glen was that gathering spot at one point for the entertainment in our area. And a way to capture that, I think, again, is to still do something on an entertainment level to bring people together, celebrating our past and our heritage, which would be in an Iron Festival Industrial Arts Fair.
I believe ECTV just ran one of your documentaries on Rocky Glen a couple days ago, if I'm not mistaken. Did you do the one where you talked about, you were interviewing people and you were talking about how people love Rocky Glen, how much they miss it? That was yours.
We did actually a lecture program at the Lackawanna Historical Society, which ECTV also filmed, and then we did a documentary itself on the history of Rocky Glen Park.
It was wonderful.
Our friends at WVIA Television were courteous enough to provide us with a copy of that program, and we've been able to run it, and I'm sure you'll see it again.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing, I don't know how easy it would be to do a documentary on the iron furnaces, gone so long, and again, it wasn't a recreational place per se. But I guess one of the things that we want to point out, and you do it in terms of the suggestion that we want people coming there, otherwise we may lose it.
That's correct.
And unlike, you can have a store that closes its doors and it remains empty for a while, and some other store, be it a different commodity, may come in there. But once you lose some of these treasures, they're gone forever.
We have so many regional treasures in our area still: the Electric City Trolley Museum, Steamtown, the County Coal Mine Tour, the Anthracite Museum. But the iron furnace is an area that's somewhat underappreciated, and again, that's one of the reasons we want to call attention to it, of its history.
Now, I'm going to hold this photo up again, Bob, and I don't know how much you can tell us about this, but were the fires actually ignited in those large archways that we see?
Yes. And then the molten iron would melt down, and then the pig iron would be then taken off, and it would molt, or would, it's hard to describe, but it would sort of come down through a little trough and go into like a pure state. And of course we had the Roaring Brook right next to it, which provided a water supply.
Was this building enclosed, or did it stand as we see it now?
It stood as, except it's missing part of the top sections. There was, I believe, 5 blast furnaces there.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting that I hold this up so that you can tell me about that, but by the same token, I'm holding up a piece of artwork.
Yes.
And again, you've made the point that at this ceremony on Saturday, that we're going to see some artists coming in, and in a sense, they are industrial artists.
Yes.
I know that, well, give us an idea of some of the things we may see there.
Well, we're going to have people doing pottery.
Pottery, so you have, for instance, this is a depiction of something that might be on display?
Some of the work that'll be done, because the person actually will be creating the art down there in addition then to selling pieces. So we'll have a chance to see it produced, and then the opportunity to purchase it as well. And that's some examples of one of our artists that will be coming from outside the area.
And how have you tried to reach various artists to come and show their displays? Have you put out an alert, wanted artist come to Scranton?
Well, the county has a very good arts program, the Lackawanna County Arts Education Program, which has the opportunity to network out there. And because of that, we've also had, again, about 10, 12 different organizations working together. So we've all been just networking, getting in touch with people, letting them know about this event that we're doing. And as I said earlier, that we are going to have some representatives from Allentown, Bethlehem, Pittsburgh area, Philadelphia area. So we do have artists coming from outside the area. So we're hoping to turn this into an event that we might be able to do it on an annual basis. I know in Danville they actually have a 4-day industrial arts fair, and we're hoping to try and at least model that a little bit, maybe for a weekend event down the road.
I think, Bob, the people who are watching this, they would like to know something about Bob Savakinus. How did you get involved in doing stuff like this? Is this your full-time work, or do you have a job separate from this?
Yes, I'm an educator with IU 18. I work with special needs students, and my hobbies, though, also was local history. And I'm just very proud of Lackawanna County and all that you have to offer up here. And for me, a lot of good memories of Rocky Glen Park got me started on researching local history, and Rocky Glen was my first interest. And now I'm looking again at the furnaces.
Do you live here in Lackawanna County?
Yes, I do, in Carbondale.
Okay. You know what, Bob? I think that's great for a young man like you to get involved in different events like this and keep history alive, David.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he has you have a full-time job
Yes.
as an educator, and then you're doing this as side work and just to help keep the arts going.
The arts and also our history, to keep history alive, as you said.
Now, here's another example of something that we might see. Bob, tell me about this.
That would be glass bracelets, and again, keeping with the industrial theme, we're looking at glass, pottery prior to that, blacksmithing, just different industrial arts that were related to at that point in time.
And I think it may surprise some people to know just how, again, industry and arts can blend. And not only that, but coincidentally, what with the glass and the pottery we mentioned, the title of this is Arts on Fire, and both of these particular artistic crafts depend on fire.
That's correct.
To produce their end product.
Who came up with the name? Did you come up with the name?
No, I didn't. Actually, my wife, Mary Ann, came up with the name.
Arts on Fire?
Arts on Fire. Originally, we were calling it an industrial arts fair, and she's the director of the Lackawanna Historical Society, so put a little more thought into it. She said, Arts on Fire. You need something catchy to get people's attention and
So
everything.
your wife is involved also?
Yes, through the Lackawanna Historical Society.
That's amazing. That's great.
You had mentioned several times Rocky Glen and its attraction, and obviously people came from far and wide to that. Can a successful artistic community be a major attraction for a community?
I think it can be, and I think Scranton shows that all the time with how the city has become such a revitalized city. I do the first Friday art walks that they do, and it's amazing to see the hundreds of thousands of people that are walking through the city, coming out to see the different art events that are going on, the artists, and Scranton continuously celebrates what it has to offer with the arts. Again, I'm proud to call myself a Lackawanna County resident.
So am I. And you know, David lives in the next county, but David spent many, many years working here in Lackawanna County. We consider David a Lackawanna County resident, even though he lives in Luzerne County. But
blood brother,
he's
I
a
guess.
blood brother, yes. But you know, it is quite an area. We talk about this on our show almost every week, Bob. It's quite an area to be raised in Lackawanna County, and people like you keep it alive. That's what I like about it. I was a history major myself in college.
But what's also fortunate is that we have the community coming out to support it all the time, too.
Yes,
Whenever
and
there's events coming
And
on.
remember, that community goes well beyond Lackawanna County, because we have a big audience in the Pittston Township, the west side of Luzerne County. And certainly, I would imagine, Bob, there's a fair chance that a large number of those people, they trace their ancestry back either again from coal or perhaps from iron.
We share the same heritage between Luzerne and Lackawanna County and most of our areas surrounding it. And we share that common heritage of the iron industry, the coal industry,
Right.
the mining, the railroads.
Now, what kind of a schedule do you have set up as far as Saturday is concerned? Things will begin early in the morning.
At 9 a.m. We also will have food available throughout the course of the day, too, for people to purchase. And we'll have, again, the iron pour at 1 o'clock. But throughout the day, the artisans will be showing their displays, manufacturing things as well. We will have music again, which is also provided through our Lackawanna County Arts program and everything. And then in the evening, we'll have a cocktail party reception, and we're just hoping to bring a lot of people out to come down to the furnaces to see what's there.
What's the price? Is there an admission? It's free to go to the actual iron furnaces, but then when you have the cocktail party at night, I'm sure it costs something.
The cocktail party is $15 in advance, which you would get in touch with through the Anthracite Heritage Museum, or it's $20 the day of the event. And this is a fundraiser for the Anthracite Heritage Museum.
And that museum, in essence, has really picked up the ball in terms of trying to preserve the history of the iron furnaces. What, through various exhibits and things, Bob?
Yes, well, they're the site administrator for the furnaces. That's actually a part of the Anthracite Museum. The Heritage Museum is the iron furnaces.
So placards such as the one behind you now, which contains some of the basic information about the iron furnaces, would normally be available at either the Anthracite Museum and or the furnaces themselves?
Yes, because at the iron furnaces themselves, they do have a small museum and gift shop and display area down there. Unfortunately, again, it's only open on weekends just because we just don't have that much traffic down there, and that's why we want to increase the attention to the area.
You know, I recently made a trip to New York State, Judge, and had the pleasure of taking a cruise on the Erie Canal, which still runs across the breadth of New York State, over 365 miles. And one of the canal boat operators explained to me that they came close to having that canal closed a few years ago, but fortunately there was enough public uproar that there was enough support to keep it open. Now, Bob, here again, I know we've touched on this already, but you really need this kind of support constantly, lest we do lose some of these treasures.
Whether it's for the arts programs, whether it's for history, whatever, we need the public to come out and support it so that your state legislators, your government officials realize that the public cares about these areas and wants to continue funding them, or else they'll simply go away, just the way Rocky Glen went away.
You mentioned, you know what, David? I just have to say one thing about Rocky Glen. I happen to like Rocky Glen a lot. I've been going to Rocky Glen all my life. Just very quickly, is there any future for Rocky Glen? What are they using the ground for now?
From what I understand, it's owned by an organization outside of the area, and the land just sits there.
Okay.
It's still beautiful, and my hope someday would be that maybe we could just get some markers to commemorate the rides, the $1 Million Coaster, and things like that down
David,
there.
you remember Rocky Glen?
Oh, yes, yes.
I know that's not
certainly
why
do.
we're here, but maybe for another show, we should have Bob back to talk
Well,
about
again,
Rocky
they're
Glen.
all tied. Again, the rails produced
That's
here
right.
that went to Rocky Glen, the rails produced at those iron furnaces. I guess I'm kind of curious as to if someone comes to visit the iron furnaces, they don't know the history other than reading the placards. Do we have people today that know enough about the history that they can sort of say, here's what we did here, and here's how it was done, here's how much was produced, and here's why it was important? Are there guides, for instance?
There was a booklet written by Dan Perry, a local person from the Scranton area, who wrote a book on the history of the iron furnaces, and it's available. I'm not sure exactly where, but I know it is available in our area that you could purchase it. And of course, there is the museum, the Anthracite Heritage Museum, and as I said earlier, there's a small gift shop and museum area down at the furnaces as well. So
What did happen to them in terms of their history? You said that the Scranton family had managed to keep it going for quite some time. Was it just competition from other countries?
it was competition mainly from the Western Pennsylvania furnaces, the Carnegies, in which they just had so much access because of the Three Rivers and everything, so that the facility ended up being closed and then moved up to the Buffalo area, where they had easier access to the Great Lakes and the iron ore that was available there.
Well, I mean, that's a long time since it's actually shut down. How have we been able to at least preserve what we have now? How'd that come about?
I think because it was considered like a historic site for our area and how much it meant to it, and then the state eventually took it over and put it as one of their historic site operations.
You know what, Bob? Maybe, and myself and Dave, this will get us to think about the furnaces, because I'll be honest with you, it never even enters my mind to go and visit the furnace. Are they open to the public?
On weekends.
And so everybody, it doesn't have to be this Arts on Fire festival. You can go any weekend to visit the Scranton furnaces.
You can visit them. Again, I would suggest contacting the Anthracite Heritage Museum for additional information about when you can. If a scheduled tour needs to be done, like a private tour or something, I'm sure that could be arranged through the Anthracite Museum itself, because that's where their full-time staff is, at the Anthracite Museum. And the iron furnaces, again, is just a part-time event for now.
But Saturday offers a real opportunity for people to come and learn about the furnaces and see an awful lot of artwork, as it happens, industrial artwork, art that's been produced through what would be processes that would also be used in industry. You suggested, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you suggested that if this is a success, that we could see an annual festival there?
We hope to. We actually hope to turn it into a weekend event so that people could come in from outside the area and spend some time in our wonderful city of Scranton and shop and do things here and do an event for the weekend from a Friday through possibly Sunday event. Because as I said, I know the Danville area, I believe it's a 4-day event. So
Right.
And you have multiple attractions in a fairly short area.
Yes.
Because you have the iron furnaces right next to the Radisson Hotel, which of course was the headquarters of a railroad. Just up the block, you've got Steamtown, the trolley museum's right there. So really, I can see a future potential for having a 2, 3, 4 block long type festival with artists along the way, highlighting various attractions like this.
I would hope that we could do something like that. I know our county government is very supportive of these types of events, and we just need the public to come out and spend some time with us and get a chance to see it and showcase some of the things that are out there.
We encourage everybody to come, but I do want to remind you once again that for any reason you can't, that ECTV will be taping some of those events, and that we will have that on the air. You can check the scheduling at electricitytv.org. And when that program is ready, you'll be able to see it. We hope that you'll actually try to come out and participate and see the various artists that have their wares there and learn a little bit about our history and why it's so important to everybody, because if you use our history correctly, it can lead to our future.
That's right. And you know what's nice about this, Bob? You have vision, and people need vision because we're landlocked here in Northeast Pennsylvania. We're not near an ocean, or we're not near the rivers like in Pittsburgh where they have access, and that's why it's so hard to get people to get interested in this area. Arts on Fire is something that helps. It makes people start thinking, maybe I should go to that. The Heritage Museum, once a year on the Courthouse Square, we have all the artists come, and that's a great thing. We don't have the best weather in the world, but it seems to be working because people like you have vision. But we're out of time, David. We got notice that we're out of time. And again, it's great for me to be here with my co-host, David DeCosmo. Dave, if you want to say something before we
Well,
sign
just
off.
want everybody to invite everybody to these ceremonies on Saturday beginning at 9 o'clock at the Iron Furnaces, continuing throughout the day. A lot to see. And Bob, I'm sure that you'll be looking for everybody and willing to shake a hand or two.
And thank you to ECTV for helping promote our
That's
event.
right, Bob. And you'll be shaking hands because people will see you on this show and they'll want to shake your hands. This is Tom Munley on behalf of ECTV and live, and my co-host David DeCosmo. Bob Savakinus, you're a great man, and I think that, again, vision is what you have, and we need that in this area.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for watching ECTV Live, and we'll see you again next Monday.